the Got Guns and Dogs. I'm glad you could join me today. Today, we're going to talk about election integrity. Yes, that's right, the forbidden topic. The one you're only allowed to mention if you immediately apologize for bringing it up. Because apparently, in modern America, asking whether our elections are accurate and secure is not civic-minded. It's suspicious. It's not responsible. It's dangerous. Which is amazing to me, because not that long ago, everyone agreed on this. Election integrity used to be the most boring bipartisan issue imaginable. Keep the rolls clean, make sure only eligible citizens vote, and maintain public trust. Done. No drama. No outrage. No theatrical press conferences either. And then, somewhere along the way, that consensus didn't just disappear. It flipped. Now, asking for basic safeguards gets you labeled, dismissed, or compared to something outrageous before you can even finish your sentence. And no one embodies that shift more clearly than Chuck Schumer. Watch this.
Democrat facing fresh scrutiny. A resurfaced clip from the 1990s shows Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer backing ID checks to crack down on welfare fraud. Fast forward to today, and he's fighting voter ID requirements in federal elections. Take a look at then Congressman Schumer.
Let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a social security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a social security card.
All right, let's bring in Missouri Republican Senator Eric Schmidt. It's amazing the way people evolve over time. You're for ID for one thing, to cut down on fraud, waste, and abuse in the welfare system. But now when it comes to voting, you're against it. I mean, how do you make that change?
Well, I think Chuck Schumer, in this specific instance, his journey on this is kind of indicative of the Democrat Party, which once was sort of a mainstream political party and now has reached a level of absurdity and really honestly at war with common sense. If you poll this issue, it's 80 plus, there aren't many issues that are like that, including among Democrats. 70 plus percent of Democrats believe you should actually have to show a photo ID to vote. It's about basic election security.
See, he used to love election integrity. What the hell happened? Because this is a man who used to talk about fair elections. He used to talk about maintaining confidence in the system. He understood, like most people did, that if voters don't trust the process, the entire system starts to wobble. But now that we're told that voter ID and proof of citizenship are Jim Crow 2.0, that's not just criticism, people. That's a rhetorical sledgehammer. Because once you say that, you're not debating anymore. You're condemning. You're not engaging. You're shutting the door and you're locking it. And it's convenient, very convenient for you, isn't it, Democrats? Because if something is Jim Crow 2.0, you don't have to explain why it's bad in practical terms. You don't have to weigh trade-offs, and you don't have to acknowledge any benefits either. You just declare it unacceptable and move on. Problem solved, at least politically. But not actually solved. Now let's talk about the voter rolls, because this is where things get really uncomfortable. Voter rolls are the foundation of election administration. They determine who is registered, who gets ballots, and how eligibility is verified. And like any system that involves millions of records, they require maintenance. People move, people pass away, and people change eligibility status. But that's not controversial, that's reality. And yet when concerns are raised about keeping the voter rolls accurate, especially in large states like California, New York, and Illinois, the reaction is often defensive, dismissive, or outright hostile. Critics argue that some of these states resist deeper audits, data sharing, or more aggressive maintenance of the voter rolls. Why? Supporters argue that they're protecting voters from being wrongly removed. They're protecting illegal aliens, dead people, and ineligible voters like felons that live on Skid Row to vote. These people are disgusting, and people's dogs too. They vote too now. This is ridiculous. We are the biggest, baddest country in the world, and our elections are worse than a third world hellhole. I mean, this is ridiculous. These Democrats are disgusting, and now they're turning communist. They just elected 2 more straight up communists in New York. They're going to be in our Congress. We cannot have this. We have got to get these people, our judgeships can't be foreign born. Our Congress, no more foreign born, no more foreign born in our Senate. We've got to straighten up this country, Republicans. You guys got to stick together. What are you doing? And why are you not sticking together and getting this crap handled? This is very serious. These Islamic scuzlums are trying to take over our country. But instead of addressing that, we've decided to pretend on only one matter. If you talk about access, you're responsible for bad votes. If you talk about integrity, you're accused of something. And that's the pattern, the Democrat pattern. And here's the part that nobody says out loud. If voter rolls are not consistently updated, they can include outdated registrations, people who have moved, people who are no longer eligible, and people who have died, just like I was just saying. Pointing that out isn't the same thing as claiming massive fraud is happening everywhere. It's acknowledging a basic administrative reality. But even that acknowledgement has become controversial, because apparently the real threat isn't a flawed system. It's talking about a flawed system. Now enter the Save America Act. On its face, the idea is straightforward. Strengthen election safeguards require proof of citizenship for federal elections and reinforce confidence in the system and proof of ID. It's simple, direct, and understandable, which is exactly why it's being treated like it's radioactive. Supporters say it's about restoring trust. Opponents say it could create barriers for some voters, particularly those who don't have easy access to documentation. Then they shouldn't be voting. That's the real concern, and it does deserve to be addressed. But instead of addressing it, we get the same script. Jim Crow 2.0, again and again and again, because why have a detailed policy discussion when you can just escalate the rhetoric and shut everything down? And here's where the sarcasm practically writes itself, folks. We are told that requiring ID is unreasonable to vote. For our President of the United States of America and pretty much the leader of the free world, no voter ID. You're kidding me, right? These people are sick in the head. I don't know where they were raised, where they went to school, or where they came from, but they're sick, disgusting, and stupid. We better really wake up and start taking over, guys. This Republican Party has got to step up to the plate. Our congressmen and women suck. You need ID to get on a plane, to open a bank account, to pick up a package, to pick up your dog from the vet, to rent a car, to apply for a job. But voting? Oh no, that's different. That's where we suddenly decide that verification is an unacceptable burden. That's where we draw the line, because ensuring the integrity of elections is apparently the one area where basic safeguards are just too much to ask. Of course, the real issue isn't whether safeguards exist, it's how they're implemented. They set up these elections to be cheated, for fraud, to be rigged. That's the conversation we should really be having. How do you make verification simple, accessible, and fair? How do you ensure that every eligible voter can meet the requirements without unnecessary difficulty? How do you balance access and integrity so that neither is sacrificed? Those are very serious questions, people, but you can't answer serious questions in an environment where one side of the debate is treated as illegitimate. You cannot find balance when only one concern is allowed to exist. And that's exactly where we are right now, folks. We've created a political culture where raising concerns about election integrity is treated as inherently suspect. Why is that? Where asking for transparency is seen as an attack, where proposing safeguards is framed as suppression. And then we act confused when trust declines. Here's a simple idea. Trust requires transparency. It requires accountability, and it requires acknowledging that systems can improve, just like America does. We improve all the time. We find a mistake, we fix it. That's what America's all about. No system is perfect, not in business, not in healthcare, and not in government. So the idea that elections are beyond scrutiny, that they should not be questioned, examined, or improved, is not a sign of confidence. It's a sign of avoidance. And avoidance doesn't build trust. It erodes it. And if we actually care about democracy, not just winning elections, but sustaining the system itself, then we have to be willing to hold two ideas at once. We have to protect access, and we have to protect integrity. Not one or the other, both. Because a system that is easy to access but widely doubted will lose legitimacy. and a system that is secure but inaccessible, it'll lose fairness. You need both. And that is the goal here. That's the standard, and that's why something like the Save America Act should not be dismissed out of hand. Debate it, improve it, fix what needs fixing, but don't shut down the conversation before it even begins. Because once you decide that certain questions cannot be asked, you're not strengthening democracy, you're weakening it. So yes, go ahead and roll your eyes when someone brings up election integrity. Call it overblown, call it unnecessary, call it whatever you want. But don't pretend that it does not matter, because it does. It matters more than almost anything else that we argue about. Its foundation cracks. It doesn't matter how nice the rest of the structure looks. Eventually, everything built on top of it starts to fall apart and crumble. You know, life gives you big giant waves. We have to learn how to surf. We've got to pass a law against communism and socialism in this country. It's here. They are implementing it. Communism in America. And it's the scuzes doing it, of all people. That believe in killing people that don't believe in their false god and their pedophile man that marries little children, and they think that we should be murdered if we don't believe in that. They're disgusting. Those people are sick in the head. They're inbred like crazy. They're third world. Why are they in our country? Marco Rubio, please. Mass deportations, Trump, you promised us. Get these scuzlums out of our country. Get these third worlders out of a first world high trust society. Oil and water don't mix. We've got to call our congressmen, and we've got to start really voicing our voices more. We've got, comment in the comments and tell me what you think about this. Please like and subscribe because it helps with the algorithm. Well, you guys, that's pretty much my riff for today. Our elections are, I believe the New York that elected the communists just now, today, they're rigged. I don't believe any of these elections are secure. I don't believe any of them are. I believe the entire election system, the machines, the paper ballots that they're mailing in, it's all fraud as far as I'm concerned. These elections were not won honestly in New York. I know it. I know it in the bottom of my heart. They are cheating. That Scamdoni scumbag did not win. He should not be in this country. He praises the freaking people that brought down 9/11. So does the little scumbag scuzlum bitch that just got supposedly elected. She didn't. She wipes her hands and her ass with our flag. Isn't that nice? Well, on that note, remember, no matter what life throws your way, you still have potential. God bless you, your family, and God bless America.